It's 2 o'clock. We're gonna start at 2 o'clock. We're on.
It's okay. We're a little early. Gonna be early.
When we start, we're gonna start with position number 13.
Okay.
Let me say somebody else.
Your Honor, this is David Howell from the Public Defender's Office. I think we're still waiting on Mike McLean to get on.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Howell.
Is number 13 his client?
Yeah.
We can start in courtroom 2 then.
That is Mr. McLean's client. I have the first half of the calendar.
Okay.
Yes, we can start in courtroom number 2, please. Thank you.
He just logged on, Judge, if you're ready to start.
Okay. Oh, I see Mr. McLean. Who are my ASGs? Do I have any of them on camera yet?
Hi, Your Honor. ASG Celeste Patton for the state, as well as my coworker, ASG Webb.
Good morning. Nice to meet you all.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, should I say. Sorry about that.
Feels like a morning, though.
Exactly.
We can start with position number 13 in courtroom 3 for me, please. Thank you.
All right, let me go ahead and give my opening remarks and get started. My name is Judge Regina Mincy, and we're going to begin the Fulton County State Court Expedited Accusations calendar. This is a calendar in cases where individuals have recently been arrested and charged with certain misdemeanor offenses. Soon after their arrest, the Fulton County Solicitor General's office has already accused these cases of the offenses brought against them, and the cases have been bound over to the Fulton County State Court. Nevertheless, this will be the defendant's initial appearance before state court judge. So we're going to address several matters, including bond, possible arraignment, and a consideration of any possible plea offers if one has been made at this juncture by the state. Also, I'm going to be providing you with the reset date for arraignment if it's not held today for that SAP calendar. And that date is February the 3rd, 2022. So February the 3rd is the reset date. I'm going to begin by advising everyone that this whole entire proceeding is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube. So I want you to be aware of that. I'm also reminding you and letting you know that you do have a constitutional right to remain silent. And I want the defendants to remember that anything that you say about the facts or occurrences of your case and any statements that you make can and will be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney representing you today, which you will see your attorneys on the screen, whether they're with the PD's office or a private attorney. We'll have them to wave their hands so you can see them. And we want you to know, again, to defer to your attorneys and let them represent you today before you make any statements that may be against your interests going forward. Are we starting with 13?
Yes, Your Honor, that's my case.
Okay, Mr. McLean. And which ASG is this, Webb?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, this is case number 22 CR 000314Y. This is the state versus Paula Witherspoon. Is that you, Miss Witherspoon? Can you hear me? Okay. All right, you're being charged with one count of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer and one count of simple battery with the offense date of January the 21st, 2022.
I ain't an officer.
Hold on a second. Don't want you to say anything. Let us get started with the proceedings and then defer to your attorney. Ms. Roberts, do we have anything from pretrial?
Yes. She has 42 cycles. Last arrest was September 23rd, 2021 for FTA in Chambly. She has a total of 2 FTAs and 3 probation violations in her criminal history. A 2015 criminal trespass conviction, a 2014 reckless conduct conviction, 2012 cruelty in a third, battery and simple battery conviction, a 2012 criminal attempt to commit a felony conviction, 2008 criminal attempt and criminal damage to property conviction, aggravated assault conviction in 2002.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I thought you said okay for me to stop. You want me to continue?
Yes, I was gonna say that's okay. You can stop.
Okay.
2008. All right, Ms. Webb.
Yes, Your Honor. As Your Honor knows, this incident took place on yesterday evening at the 5 Points MARTA station. The MARTA PD was canvassing the station when an officer heard a loud argument taking place inside of the women's restroom. And when officer announced his presence and walked into the restroom, he was met with the defendant and the victim is Violet Purnell. That is Violet, common spelling, Purnell, P-E-R-N-E-L-L. And Ms. Purnell began to explain to the officer why her and the defendant was arguing. And in the midst of her explanation, the defendant took a drink and threw it on her. When the officer told the defendant to put her hands behind her back, she resisted arrest by holding her arms underneath herself while laying on the floor. And it took 2 officers to get her placed under arrest. For those reasons, Your Honor, the state is actually going to go with the preset bond for $1,500 surety on each count, a stay away from all MARTA properties, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. The state is concerned that the defendant has a high risk of reoffending. She is residentially challenged according to our records, and that the state is concerned that if she is granted a signature bond, that she will reoffend and go back to those locations. And we are well aware that she possibly needs resources, and we want her to be able to get those resources, Your Honor. We also are concerned that she is a possible flight risk, as she did recently FTA on that shoplifting charge out of Chambly. And she also has other FTAs in her criminal history, along with those several probation violations, Your Honor. So for those reasons, this is the state's recommendation.
All right, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, she is residentially challenged. She does need resources. However, as to this particular offense, I'm not going to say surprisingly enough. It's not surprising. It's because of the nature of her recent record and the offense itself, I suppose, that's charged, that the pretrial report does have a yes recommendation for unsecured judicial release for Ms. Witherspoon. However, her, by the way, her spelling is Weatherspoon, W-E-A-T-H, not Witherspoon. The officer had terrible timing in walking in, not seeing that the other person had just kicked and stomped Miss Weatherspoon's foot. I'm not trying to justify throwing a beverage on anybody, but it's kind of a natural reaction. There was an explanation going on, so there was some anger going on, and it's pretty understandable from a human psychological standpoint. We'd ask the judge, we'd ask the court to give her a break and try out that unsecured judicial release nonetheless. And she'll do her darndest to get some resources. I was quizzing her on the phone. Can you go down to 10 Park Place? Can you just go down to 10 Park Place and present yourself and stay on the right wavelength?
And how old is Miss Weatherspoon?
Let's see. She is 55.
And what about employment or income?
None, Your Honor. She definitely needs some resources.
And you all would take her, Ms. Roberts?
Based on her history, she meets the criteria, but if she doesn't have stable housing, it'll be kind of difficult. I think it'll be setting her up because if she doesn't report, we'll issue out a bench warrant.
We definitely have to assign her to a shelter. Just have to find a shelter.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about. She doesn't have any family or relatives that you have not been able to make any contact with or anything.
She's from northern Alabama. Bessemer is a suburb of Birmingham. She doesn't have, she's got relatives here, but she doesn't have their phone numbers handy. She's got a sister and a brother here in Atlanta, she believes, but hasn't been in touch with them for a while for lack of phone services. And she just doesn't know their number, so it's going to be, I wish we had some kind of notice board for people, for families who have lost touch with each other to get hold of each other.
And this was a stranger in the MARTA restaurant?
Stranger to stranger in the MARTA, female bathroom, just two people fussing.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and order a signature bond in the amount of $3,000, $1,500 on each charge. And Ms. Weatherspoon, I hope that you will be able to not forfeit on this bond, this signature bond, and report to pretrial. You're going to have to do that. Are you going to be able to do that?
You can respond.
She's still, go ahead. Okay. Will you be able to report to pretrial, Ms. Weatherspoon?
What?
Report to the pretrial office? To be monitored while you're on bond, if I give you a signature bond?
What? What?
I may have some other concerns, but Ms. Weatherspoon, will you be able to cooperate and report to the pretrial office while you're on bond?
Wow.
So that they can keep up with you?
Oh, what pretrial for you? What it is? What the office did?
This may be a little more difficult than it was this morning for her, Your Honor. She's having a little trouble communicating.
Right. Do we have any other issues that we're concerned about that we need to go into a breakout about?
I think that'd be wise.
All right, let's go into a, can you put us into a breakout please.
I can also go ahead and stick me in the breakout as well. This is Bert.
Okay,
What's it? What's it?
All right, Ms. Weatherspoon?
She can hear you.
Yes, I'm going to grant a $3,000 surety bond. And we're going to get you some resources and if you haven't bonded out, we're going to reset your case to Thursday, January the 27th, okay? Let's see if we can get you some assistance in between now and Thursday. Okay? All right, so she has a $3,000 surety bond, $1,500 on each charge. Then we'll reset her to Thursday, the 27th. All right, that should conclude everything. And let me say this, and I apologize. The conditions will be to stay away from all MARTA locations at this time. She's probably already banned anyway. But you're not to return to any MARTA locations if you are able to bond out of jail. All right, Ms. Weatherspoon? Right now, do not go to the MARTA stations, okay?
I got those verses. Okay. I have no get around.
Well, if you're able to bond out, you'll have to find some other means to get around.
I can't get some water, man.
Yeah, you'll have to do some ride shares or other things like that.
Huh? What?
Uber or Lyft or other things like that.
I got water.
Yeah, you can't ride MARTA right now.
Why not?
Because of this pending case.
Huh?
Because of this pending case.
What's that case?
Because of your charge.
Yeah, for your charges today, obstruction and simple battery. So you have to stay out.
I did not hit no water, man.
I understand, but we're
I
going.
hit no water, they hit me. So, I think we go.
Okay, well, we will see you on Thursday. All right, Deputy, that will conclude this matter.
We can go to position number 1, please, Mr. Brock. Look at him. Look at him.
Your Honor, David Howell on behalf of the defendant.
All right, this is case number 22 CR 000303J. You are Courtney Dontavius Brock.
Mr. Brock, say it again for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're being charged with 1 count of theft by shoplifting and 1 count of criminal trespass with the offense date of January the 21st, 2022. What do we have, Ms. Roberts? Anything?
19 cycles, 3 FTAs in his history. Last arrest was December 14, 2021 for criminal trespass in South Fulton. That is an open case. 21 CR 007-545J. Appears to be on probation for theft by shoplifting. 21 SC 177641. Disposition May 18, 2021. 9 months probation. A 2017 conviction for misdemeanor marijuana possession. A 2015 conviction for driving while license suspended or revoked. And nothing further to add.
Okay. All right, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor. Again, this case is involving Mr. Courtney Brock. This involves incident location of 6149 Old National Highway. That is a Walmart. Mr. Brock was seen on the Walmart surveillance camera loading various grocery items into his jacket. Items were totaling less than $500. He had already previously been given a criminal trespass at this specific location. The state is recommending for the theft by shoplifting charge a $1,500 good bond, and for the criminal trespass charge, a $500 good bond, which in total would be a $2,000 good bond for both charges, and a stay away from 6149 Old National Highway. As pretrial has mentioned, this defendant has multiple FTAs. He in fact has a criminal trespass from almost a month ago, so there's some likelihood of reoffending that the state is concerned about. Also, he's currently on probation for theft by shoplifting. As such, we think a $2,000 good bond is more than appropriate for this defendant.
All right.
Your Honor, David Howell on behalf of the defendant. My client's 32 years old. He lives on Old National Highway in Atlanta, lives alone. He is a lifetime resident of Atlanta, has an 11th grade education, works as a maintenance man. He does not make much money. To the state's allegations, if you read the state's allegations, he was accused of loading grocery items. Should the state be able to prove that's true, the main fact I think this court should look at this point of the case is the fact that my client was accused of loading grocery items, not bicycles, not televisions, not DVD players or Xboxes. What he is accused of stealing is something essential for life in and of itself. If anything, this is if my client did in fact do this, this would be a case of situational theft by necessity. If he in fact did it, we believe that a signature bond is appropriate in this case. We believe that for a $1,500 good bond, considering my client is stealing essential needs for life, would be appropriate, and thus we would ask for a signature bond.
Okay. And you stated that he works as a maintenance man?
Yes, ma'am, at a local condo place.
At a what place? I'm sorry.
At a condo complex.
Okay. All right, I'm going to order a $2,000 surety bond. First charge of theft by shoplifting, $1,500. Criminal trespass, $500, for a total of $2,000 surety bond. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Also, a stay away from the Walmart on Old National, 6149 Old National Highway.
Hey, the CT was a year ago from the location of Walmart. I thought I was able to go back after a year.
Mr. Brock,
Sir,
we just in the place for that.
All right, that will conclude this matter. You have a $2,000 surety bond.
I can't tell you one more thing. The previous police report from the education was not true. I have a police report down there from that location that says I spoke at an officer. Yeah, and I was fighting officer.
Need to be careful and defer to your attorney.
Okay, I just want to let you know that police report was not true.
That didn't play into my consideration. All right, this should conclude this matter.
Position number 8.
Ms. Henry,
Are you Adrian Henry?
Yes.
This is case number 22 CR 0000309A. You're being charged with one count of knowingly driving a motor vehicle on a suspended, canceled, or revoked registration. The offense date, June 21st, 2021. You have anything pretrial?
He has 9 cycles. Last arrest was from June 25th, 2021 for theft by shoplifting out of Milton. Milton Police Department. The case appears to be open. It appears to be on probation for theft by shoplifting. 20 SC 175816. Disposition February 18th, 2021. It's 2-year probation sentence. Has a 2016 theft by shoplifting conviction out of DeKalb County. A 2010 theft by taking and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer conviction out of Fulton County. A 2010 theft by taking conviction out of Fulton County. And nothing further to add.
Okay. All right, Ms. Webb.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place on June 21st of 2021 on Cascade Road. Officer Minor with the Atlanta Police Department conducted a traffic stop on a white Dodge Charger, and the vehicle's registration came back as suspended. Upon running the defendant's license, she did have 2 outstanding warrants with Cherokee and Milton Police Department. So the officer then placed her under arrest for driving while her registration was suspended and for those 2 holds. Her bond is currently set at $100 surety, but the state is requesting a $500 surety. No driving while out on bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. The state is concerned that she is a flight risk, Your Honor, and she does have a previous FTA from Fulton County in 2019, as well as those previous probation violations.
Okay. All right, and this is Mr. Howell? No,
McLean.
McLean, sorry. Go ahead.
Your Honor, some of the history read is actually, it's correctly read from what's on the record, but it's factually mistaken in the sense. She had a 20 SC first offender, I think it was a first offender, felony shoplifting that was her case. And now attached to the papers for today, it says that she's in trouble for that on account of the June 25th, 2021 Milton shoplifting. She says, and she can prove it, that the 2021 June 25th Milton shoplifting was not her. That was somebody else that was once arrested with her on the 2020 shoplifting, or the one that led to the 2020 case. So she not only is getting over a bad history that she herself had, but we should see her record as having more of a gap, more time between now and her last wrongdoing than it sounds like. So this was the suspended registration of the car she was unaware of because of the nature of the charge and the fact that last June 25th, she was not the person. She went to that Milton home. I believe I don't have any Milton papers, but I've heard it asserted to me from her relatives on the phone as well as her that she took care of that and showed that it wasn't her. I'd like to be able to prove that today, but I don't have any paperwork. So I would ask the court to at least leave it at $100 surety bond or even give it a signature bond, given the nature of this crime is simply driving on a suspended registration of a car, which I believe was not even hers, borrowed.
And how old is Miss Henry?
She is 29.
Does she work?
The job, let's see, I don't have down your job, Miss Henry. Can you fill that in for the court?
I control traffic at AWP.
Say again, please, slower.
I control traffic at AWP.
What's AWP?
A flagger, you know, when you stop sign slow with traffic flow.
Oh, okay.
Whenever on the roads, yeah.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
Since December 3rd.
All right, I'm going to grant a $500 signature bond through pretrial. Or judge. I'm going to order that there be no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. I'm also going to order that you not do any driving unless you have a registration or proper tag on the vehicle that you're driving. And I'm assuming, is your license in order, or has that been suspended as well?
No, my license is not suspended.
Okay. So until you get registration, you shouldn't borrow anybody's vehicle because you don't know if that's going to be correct either. But I need you to be very careful. And I usually just limit the driving to work, to see your attorney, and to seek medical care so that you have some limited driving privileges. But like you said, your license may be fine. You just not be driving a vehicle without the proper registration while you're on bond. Otherwise, you'll just be rearrested again. Is there anything else that I need to address with this case?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right. All right.
Position number 6, Ms. Green.
Yeah, this case will be reset to come back on February the 3rd. That will be your next court date. Is that correct? Natalia?
No, Judge, you gave her a pretrial release,
Yes.
so it'll be reset until further notice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Further notice, division judge. All right, that concludes this case, Ms. Henry.
Position number 6, Ms. Stephanie Green.
Your Honor, David Howell on behalf of Ms. Green.
This is case number 22 CR 000307E. State versus Stephanie Green. Are you Ms. Green?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're charged with 1 count of driving, speeding while driving. You're charged with the 2nd count of expired or no license on person. Charged the 3rd count of giving a false name, address, or birth date to law enforcement officer. You are also charged with a 4th count of driving while license suspended or revoked, and a 5th count of obstruction of a law enforcement officer, all occurring on the offense date of April 16, 2021. Do you have anything pre-trial?
13 cycles. I'm showing her last cycle being January 20th of this year out of Smyrna for FTA. A 2020 October conviction for driving while license suspended or revoked out of Bartow County. 2020 February conviction for giving false name, address, or birth date to a law enforcement officer. Another February of 2020 conviction for giving false name, address, or birth date to a law enforcement officer out of Cobb County. A 2011 conviction for giving false name, address, or birth date to a law enforcement officer out of Cobb County. She has a total of 6 probation violations and 2 FTAs in her history.
All right, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor. Officers were conducting a speed enforcement on Georgia 92 westbound at the Township Way. They noticed a car traveling at a high rate of speed, estimated to be about 65 miles per hour in a 45 miles per hour zone. They activated the laser and placed in the front bumper, and it confirmed that the speed was in fact 65 miles per hour. They initiated a traffic stop. The driver was Miss Stephanie Green. They asked the driver for her license. She stated she did not have it at the time and gave a name of Sylvia Redden, who with a date of birth of 3/7/1985. Miss Redden is actually Miss Green's sister and not in fact Miss Green. Officers were notified at a later time that that Miss Green was Miss Green and not Miss Redden, and confirmed that Miss Green had a suspension of her license for a previous FTA. The state in this case is asking for, on the speeding charge, a $1,000 good bond. On the expired or no license on person charge, a $500 good bond. On the giving false name, address, or birth date to law enforcement officer, a $500 good bond. A driving while license suspended or revoked, a $1,000 good bond. An obstruction of a law enforcement officer, a $1,500 good bond. I believe that brings the total to $4,500 good bond, but don't quote me on that because my math is not that great. The pretrial mentioned several FTAs and several probation violations. We're concerned about that in terms of reoffending, and we think $4,500 good bond in total is appropriate in this case.
Okay. All right. Mr. Howell.
Your Honor, my client lives in Canton, Georgia, lifelong resident. Lives with her husband and a roommate, has 10 kids, however, 3 are with her sister, and 1 also lives with her. She's a manager at a local pizza restaurant. She does not make much money. Her criminal history, which the state has heavily noted and basically said that they believe that she will reoffend, is extensive. However, it is based off of prior drug use. My client was in the Cobb County Jail, transferred to Bartow, transferred to Smyrna, and then transferred to Fulton. If you note the age of this case, this is an older case. The reason is my client had a relapse and was on drugs, allegedly, or my client was had previous issues with drug use. We believe that a signature bond would be appropriate in this case. My client has been to 4 jurisdictions where she has dutifully handled all the cases that have been against her. I do not believe that continued incarceration would be in her interest, nor the state's. She is a recovering drug addict, and we believe that being out in the community would be best for her, where she can continue to receive treatment and recover from prior negative effects on her life due to drug use.
Okay. I'm going to award a $4,000 surety bond, $1,000 on the first charge of speeding, $500 on the expired license, $500 on the false name, $1,000 on driving while license suspended, and $1,000 on the obstruction. And check my math, someone. Is that right, Natalia? Is that $4,000 surety bond?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And obviously no driving if you don't have a license anyway, except for emergency medical care or just medical care to see your lawyer or to go to work if you get out, but you would have to go to DDS and get that temporary license to drive if you're able to qualify for that. And I think that would conclude. Anything else I need to take up?
Nothing from the state.
That's
All right.
Position number 2 is next, please.
Okay, position 2.
Yes, please.
Mr. Brunson.
I think she may have said a different name. Yeah, we have Mr. Brunson. Quandale Brunson.
I believe he's giving a thumbs up as that is who he is. Courtroom 2 is still muted.
It was muted. Good afternoon, guys.
All right. This is case number 22 CR 00304F. And you are Quandale Brunson, correct? Okay. And you're charged with 1 count of battery family violence with the offense date of November the 6th, 2021. Pre-trial, do you have anything?
Yes, 21 cycles, 2 out of Connecticut, 19 out of Georgia, 2 FTAs, 4 probation violations, 2 convictions out of Connecticut, 2007 assault, 2006 kidnapping. Last arrest, December 3rd, 2021, for possession of a Schedule 2 controlled substance, theft by receiving stolen property, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer in Cobb County. That case appears to be open. Also appears to have an open case out of DeKalb County for theft by shoplifting. That is from 2020. And then appears to have another open case out of DeKalb County for theft by receiving stolen property, theft by receiving a stolen firearm, possession of a firearm or knife during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies, possession of a firearm by a first offender probationer, obstruction of a law enforcement officer, possession of marijuana less than an ounce, and driving while license suspended or revoked. He appears to be on probation out of Gwinnett County for forgery in the first degree. That disposition date was September 5th, 2019, 5 years probation. And also appears to be on probation out of Clayton County for theft by taking. Disposition was October of 2019, 5 years probation. And has a 2015 theft by taking conviction out of DeKalb County, 2015 simple battery conviction out of DeKalb County, a 2019 theft by taking conviction. That was the probation that I mentioned. And nothing further.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor. Again, this is for defendant last name Brunson, Brunson, first name Quandale. Officers were called out to 3040 Waters Road, that's in Fulton County. The defendant had got into a physical altercation with his brother, victim Justice Robinson, and Justice is Justus. Robinson is common spelling. At the time, Mr. Robinson and Mr. Brunson entered into a verbal argument that turned physical. Mr. Brunson hit Mr. Robinson with a closed fist multiple times, leaving the victim's eyes swollen shut. The state at this time is requesting a $2,500 good bond, no further contact with Mr. Robinson, and of course, to stay away from 3040 Waters Road. As pretrial just read, he is a multi-state offender, has multiple FTAs, and is currently on probation. We are worried about him being a flight risk and his likelihood to offend, being that the victim and him are brothers. So once again, a $2,500 good bond, no contact with Justice Robinson, and a stay away from 3040 Waters Road.
Your Honor, David Howell for the defendant. The state has artfully gone over the accusation. However, if you read the warrant, I would like to read all the facts that are in the affidavit for arrest. Said accused intentionally caused physical harm to his brother, Justice Robinson, that is Mr. Justice Robinson, by coming over to his mother's home at 3040 Waters Road. While there, Mr. Brunson went through Mr. Robinson's tablet, again, Mr. Justice Robinson is the defendant's brother, and found video footage of Mr. Justice Robinson molesting Mr. Brunson.
Your Honor, this is going to object to this at this time. I understand that it is in the warrant, but that is not salient at all to the IALA factors or why we're here today, which is to assess bond.
Your Honor, that is ridiculous. The state just got to go over every fact they wanted in evidence, and they do this every time. I don't see how this is irrelevant at all.
All right, go ahead and proceed. I do understand, and you're giving me some of the other facts that are in the warrant, which I can see. But go ahead and tread a little light on some of those specifics, especially regarding the reason for it. I think that's a little problematic to mention.
Your Honor, I understand, I guess, the court's position. However, the state routinely goes over the facts that are in the warrant. I don't see how that would be irrelevant at all. This is part and parcel of the reason that the alleged offense occurred. And it is absolutely intrinsic to the determination of the amount of bond in this case. However, if the court would just read it, I will move on.
Yeah, I'd like to, just because of the sensitive nature of what you just stated as far as the reason as to why there may have been an altercation.
Does the court have the warrant to read?
I do.
Okay, thank you. That's all I want to get before the court.
Okay.
He has lived in at Off Waters for years, lives there with his daughter and his wife. His mom also lives there. The 6-year-old daughter is the one that's mentioned in the warrant. He has attended electrical trade school. He is a game technician at Dave & Buster's. The state has read off his criminal history. He has 21 cycles. However, most of those are in Georgia. The state says he's a multi-state offender. However, that would be a long time ago. Given his, he has lived off Waters, the alleged incident location, for 10 years, attended trade school down here, and has a long-term job down here. We believe a signature bond would be appropriate. Also, because of the reason that this allegedly occurred, which I can't believe the state danced around.
Okay. All right, I'm going to grant the $2,500 surety bond. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And again, who lives, is it 30 Waters or 3040 Waters?
3040 Waters.
And you stated that Mr. Brunson resides there, correct?
Correct. It doesn't appear that Mr. Robinson arrives there. He just comes over there apparently to do whatever's listed in the warrant.
Your Honor, the state's happy to withdraw the stay away request. I was under the impression that he was living there.
Right, and that's what I was getting ready to say. I'm not going to do a stay away from that address, unless Mr. Brunson goes there and Mr. Robinson is there, in order to not get into any more altercations or anything. Just leave the residence and wait until Mr. Robinson has left or is not there. If you go there, Mr. Brunson, and happen to encounter him. Because I'm going to just order that there be no further contact with Justice Robinson. I was thinking about no further violent contact, but I don't know if I should just do no further contact to make sure that we don't have any other incidents. Do either of you have any preference or thoughts about whether it should be no further contact or no further violent contact?
Your Honor, the state is going to again request no contact at all, but we will leave it up to the court's discretion as to what the court feels is the best.
Mr. Howell?
I would ask for no further violent or contact. Of course, if Mr. Robinson comes over to where my client lives, I mean, there's not much I guess my client can do about that, because the prohibition would be on my client. I would ask for it to be no further violent or harmful contact.
Okay. All right, I will do no further violent contact with the victim, Justice Robinson. All right, I think that should conclude everything.
Say something, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Defer to your attorney. I think your attorney has represented you well.
Mr. It would be wise not to.
I'm just, my family gonna have a hard time making that bond.
Mr. We will talk about it. I'll come see you on Monday.
All right, that should conclude everything. Thank you.
Position number 3 is Carter.
Yeah. All right, this is case number 22CR000305H. And you are Shamari Carter, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're charged with 1 count of battery, substantial physical harm. The offense date, January the 21st, 2022. Do you have anything pretrial?
24 cycles, 21 out of Maryland, 3 out of Georgia. Last arrest was from 2015 out of DeKalb County for family violence, battery, and criminal trespass. That case was no prost. 1 conviction out of Georgia, and that is for driving without a valid license in 2010. The most recent conviction I seen out of Maryland was in 2006, and that was for assault in the 2nd degree. And the conviction began in 2008. Their GCIC doesn't have many dispositions listed, but I don't see any other convictions listed.
Okay. All right. Ms. Patton?
Yes, Your Honor. On January 21st, 2022 of this year, officers responded to a
Your Honor, objection. We don't believe that this has any merit on the AL factors. Goose is good for the gander. Facts that are in the warrant don't matter.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Thank you, Your Honor. That responding to a dispute call at 365 14th Street, that is a Goodfellas restaurant. When they got there, they were told that Mr. Carter and victim Jenna Towns, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing her name, it's Townes. At the time, Mr. Carter had apparently given a compliment to an employee, and I guess the employee rejected that compliment. Mr. Carter got upset when Ms. Towns proceeded to intervene and said that he should move on. He yelled several expletives in her face and told her that he was going to beat her ass. She then Mr. Carter then tackled her and punched her several times with a closed fist in the face. This case, Your Honor, the state's asking for a $10,000 cash bond. The randomness of this incident, the severity of the incident, the fact that the defendant is a multi-state offender, and it is our belief that the defendant currently has an open murder charge in Baltimore. The fact that he was able to come down here and get upset with someone over words and strike them in the face and beat them really concerns the state. We think a $10,000 cash bond, no contact with victim Jenna Towns, and a stay away from that 365 14th Street, that's the Goodfellas location, is more than appropriate in this case.
All right. Mr. Howell?
Your Honor, David Howell for the defendant. My client's 42 years old, lived in Morrow, Georgia for 6 years. As the state is aware, the alleged victim does not live there. He has 2 kids, age 17 and 23. They don't live with him. However, he does provide financial support, even though the older one is older than he does help her out when she needs things. He has a 10th grade education, but however, he did go back and get his GED. He owns a trucking company. He does not make much money. He should be at work today and needs to be at work on Monday. We believe that a signature bond would be appropriate in this case.
How long has he had a trucking company? Do you know?
He used to drive for the trucking company. I want to say now does dispatching for his own trucking company for a couple of years.
Okay.
Close 300, close 300.
Okay, I'm going to order a $5,000 surety bond. Who is not muted? Oh, is that coming from courtroom 2? I'm going to order a $5,000 surety bond I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. I'm going to order a stay away from 365 14th Street, the Goodfellows Restaurant. I'm going to order no further contact with the victim, Jenna Towns. And I think that that's all I need to address. If you make bond, Mr. Carter, you're not to return to that restaurant or to have any contact with the victim. I didn't hear you.
Oh, no, I was talking to the officer. I'm sorry.
Is there anything else that we need to take up, Mr. Howell or Ms. Patton?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Nothing from the defense.
What do we have next?
Position number 4, Mr. Dyson, he bonded out. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the last name right. Position number 5 is medical reset. Position number 7, he refused court. So we on position number 9, Mr. LaFontaine.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Position 4, what happened?
He bonded out.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
You're welcome.
Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court today. May I please be excused?
You may. Thank you, Mr. Howell.
Thank you. You all have a good day.
You too. All right, so we're at position 9. Are you Mr. LaFontaine?
Yes, sure.
Okay, this is case number 22 CR 000-315J. Is it Chinnison LaFontaine? Didn't want to mispronounce your name. You're being charged with 1 count of battery with the offense date of November 13th, 2021. Kyle, do you have anything?
This is his first arrest.
Okay. All right, Ms. Webb.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident actually took place on November 13th, but the victim, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing her name, it's Galeriela, that's spelled Glariela, Elias, Elias, actually came to the APD Z5 precinct located on Marietta Street on November 22nd to make a report that the defendant and she had an altercation that took place on November 13th after leaving the lounge located at, one second, Your Honor, I actually have the Atlantic Lounge, excuse me. She advised that her and the defendant had an argument in the car, and he hit her in the face several times, Your Honor, and choked her while she was in the car, which resulted in her receiving severe injuries where both of her eyes were closed shut for at least a week, and she wasn't able to make an emergency phone call during the incident because the defendant took her phone, which prevented her from doing so, Your Honor. She did tell the officer that she had to go to the hospital to get treated for her injuries, and that when she was at the precinct making the report, she did inform the officers that she was still experiencing some issues with her vision. For those reasons, Your Honor, the state is recommending a $5,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, a stay away from the victim's home, which I have located as 8101 Peachtree Creek Circle, Atlanta, Georgia, 30345, and a stay away from the incident location, which is the Atlantic Lounge, considering that the victim does frequent there, Your Honor, and a no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a 1-day anger awareness. Albeit that the defendant is a first-time offender, given the gravity of the facts and the nature of the parties' relationship, we do have high concern for the victim's safety, and we want to ensure that if he is released, that he, does not return, as she did inform the officer that she was seeking to get a TPO against the defendant.
Okay. All right, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, his job is with interior renovations. He is Supervisor Brandon Marcato. I was not able to reach this morning to confirm but I think that's just because he just wasn't available. He does have a job. This is his first offense, and he does deny the allegations. I do now understand the 1113 and 1122 difference, which was confusing at first, but it would seem that in 7, 8, 9 days time, another phone would be available, but I'm not going to get into that, certainly. We would ask the court to give Mr. LaFontaine a signature bond. The pretrial report does indicate that he would be recommended for the unsecured judicial release. And any conditions that a court gives him, he can certainly abide by.
And again, what was the relationship with the victim?
They live together, I believe, is what the battery family violence is predicated on. I don't have facts on that particular allegation, but that is the battery family violence charge.
Ms. Webb?
Yes, Your Honor. According to our records, the pair was dating at the time of the incident. This did take place back in November of 2021. Excuse me, I did not state the year for the record. So we were unsure whether they were living together at the time, because both the police report in the incident report had two different addresses for the defendant and the victim, Your Honor. And I did want to advise the court, for those same reasons, we did amend the charge from a battery family violence to just battery, Your Honor, because we weren't for sure what the exact relationship was between the parties.
Right, because I was going to say here it says battery. Okay.
Oh, I see that now. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'm going to order a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial. I'm going to order the 1-day anger awareness course. I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. I'm going to order a stay away from 8101 Peachtree Creek Circle. And I'm going to order stay away from the Atlantic Lounge or any jobs or locations where the victim, Miss Elias, may be. There's to be no further contact with the victim, Miss Elias. And I think, is there anything else I need to take up?
I think that's everything.
Okay. All right. That will conclude this case.
Position number 10 is next, Judge.
Okay.
Number 4.
What is that position number again, Judge? I couldn't quite hear.
10.
10. Thank you.
Okay. Are you Mr. DeMonte Leon McCord?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. This is case number 22 CR 000-310J. You're charged with 1 count of obstruction of a law enforcement officer with the offense date of January 21st, 2022. Do you have anything pre-trial?
Yeah, 6 cycles. The last arrest is showing from June 14, 2021 for possession or transport of a firearm by a convicted felon or felony first offender. That is an open case, 21 SC 179565. However, I do not see a prior felony conviction, so I was just looking at Odyssey to see if it's something that wasn't listed on the GCIC.
All right. Ms. Webb?
Yes, Your Honor. And before I begin on this case, I believe he was also, is this the defendant that was part of the add-on calendar as well? That was just sent out? I just want to clarify for the court that the incidents are all from the same day, which took place on October 5th, but he was charged with obstruction twice based on the facts as alleged.
All right, thank you for that.
Yes, Your Honor. As stated, this incident took place on October 5th, 2021. APD was conducting patrol on Joseph Boone Boulevard when Officer Ward witnessed a male loitering in front of the convenience store, which was a Chevron gas station located at 1590 Joseph Boone Boulevard. The officer witnessed a male walk up to a silver Nissan and lean over and hand an unknown object to the driver. The male then entered the store and the Nissan drove off. The defendant was the driver of that Nissan, and it was the next actions by the defendant that actually brings him before this court today. The officers then proceeded to pull the defendant over because the vehicle's registration was suspended. And upon approaching that vehicle, the officers informed the driver that the registration on the car was suspended and that the vehicle would need to be impounded. The officers did smell a strong odor of marijuana coming from the vehicle and ordered the defendant out of the car and to turn off the engine, in which he refused. And when the officer asked him to step out of the car, he began holding onto the driver door and screaming no and resisting the officer's orders. Another officer approached the vehicle from the passenger side and opened the door to turn off the vehicle. And while the officer was reaching to turn the car off, the defendant took his free hand and shifted the vehicle into drive and rapidly took off. Officer Clark was able to jump out of the car without injury, or jump away from the car without injury, Your Honor. The state will say that, the facts are a little murky as to whether Officer Clark was inside of the vehicle or just in very close vicinity of the vehicle. But as the facts allege in the report, it does appear that at least in extremity, perhaps his arm was in the vehicle at the time that the defendant drove off. The defendant proceeded to speed off in full throttle and cross over the railroad tracks located on Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, Your Honor. And that address is approximately 1344 Joseph Boone Boulevard. Your Honor, for those reasons, the state is asking for a $5,000 surety for each obstruction charge, $3,000 surety for fleeing and eluding, $2,500 surety for the reckless conduct, $2,500 surety for the reckless driving, and a $2,000 surety for the suspended registration, which totals to a $2,000 surety bond. Your Honor, the state is making this recommendation because we are concerned that the defendant is a threat to the community. Someone could have been seriously injured, including the defendant, and the responding officers or any passerbys or drivers who were on the roadway at that time. The defendant does pose a threat to the community because he had a reckless disregard for how his actions could have posed an unjustifiable risk to his own safety and the safety of those individuals who live and reside on that road. And if anyone's ever familiar with Joseph E. Boulevard, there are a couple of popular bars in the city where, there's 9 out of 10, you can pass by there anytime and there's a high foot traffic. Additionally, Your Honor, our office is still conducting an investigation about whether Officer Clark was in or just in close proximity to that vehicle at the time. But, considering that fact may absolutely change the outcome of this case proceeding forward, Your Honor.
And so give me the charges on position 10.
The other charge that was on the add-on calendar is obstruction. He has the suspended registration, the fleeing and eluding, the reckless conduct, and reckless driving, Your Honor, totaling 5 charges. And then on the add-on calendar, it's another obstruction charge as well.
And Your Honor, I can speak to those other obstruction charges. The other obstruction charges is whenever they located him, I believe it was either the 21st or the 22nd. So today or yesterday. And at that time, they knew that he had the warrant because they were aware of him. And he absconded whenever they tried to stop him because they knew that he had the outstanding warrant into his mother's house. And he told them they were going to have to go in and get him. And he wasn't coming out. And eventually his mother did let the officers in to go ahead and apprehend them. But obviously that's a concern that he's not going to come back to court and wants us to go and get him. So we would like to keep him in the same place, being the Fulton County Jail, so he can address all of his charges that are currently pending, that first offender, possession of firearm by convicted felon case, as well as the 2 obstruction cases.
Okay. And then looking, Natalia, on the add-on calendar. So we've got position 10 with the 5 charges.
There may be a little confusion, Your Honor, in that position 10 is the 1 obstruction. I think that's the most recent. and I can speak to that separately.
Okay, all right. Clear it up for me a little bit, Mr. McLean, and then I'll give my ruling.
I think the recent obstruction is the phrase he used. The phrase he used may be, you're gonna have to work for it or something like that rather than come and get me. I think that was more like James Cagney, but it's kind of an eye roller on that obstruction, Your Honor, in that his obstruction, if any, was only verbal. They didn't have to work for it. They just let his mother talk him into it. So that was recently. On the date in question for the multiple charges, the state was inadvertent in its statement that it was a strong odor of marijuana. The police report says faint odor. The other point I would make is that while it does say full throttle when he took off, they said he crossed the railroad tracks that were in front of us at full throttle, but they were only 20 or 30 feet in front of them, as they stated. So even if you floor it, by 20 or 30 feet later, while there's a lot of noise going on, and I imagine tires are quite squeaky on the steel rails and make a tremendous noise, nonetheless, you haven't started going very fast. I wasn't there and can't say that he wasn't speeding after that first 20 or 30 feet. Your Honor, he is working as an independent contractor. He rents Penske trucks. He doesn't require a CDL. He rents trucks that are like 15-foot box trucks and gets individual contracts to move goods from one point to another for these companies. So he is a hard worker and would like to be out. So whatever break the court could give him, he would ask for the court to consider a signature bond. If that is not in the offing, he would ask the court to consider as low a surety bond as possible, in the neighborhood of about $2,000 is the most he could afford, he thinks.
All right, for position 10, with the one obstruction charge January, for January the 21st, I'm going to order a $1,500 surety bond on that charge. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And a stay away from, is it 1344 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard?
Yes, Your Honor, that is the Chevron located on Joseph E. Boone. That's 1590, actually, Joseph Boone Boulevard.
Oh.
The 1344 is where the stop initiation took place.
All right, but 1590 Joseph E. Boone, where the Chevron is, a stay away, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and a $1,500 surety bond. On position 1 for the add-on, with the offense date of 10/5/2021, that case number being 22 CR 000-312J. For the first charge, and again, it will be a surety bond, and let me do my math as I go. First charge, driving a motor vehicle on a suspended license, of $500. Surety bond, obstruction, $1,000, reckless conduct, $500, fleeing, $500, and reckless driving, $500. So that totals 15. Is that
3,000.
Yeah. And a $3,000 surety bond on that case for a total. And again, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And is there a stay away that I need to put onto the second case?
Stay away from that same incident location, Your Honor. We're also
kind of impossible, being that my address is right there.
Sorry?
My address, where I
We'll
live.
straighten it, Mr. McCord, we'll straighten it out. They're not asking you to stay away from your own home.
Okay,
No, just to stay away from the Chevron. Do not, while you're on bond, if you do make bond with these surety bonds, you're not to go to that Chevron location. Okay, Mr. McCord?
And Your Honor, the state, I couldn't recall if I said this, but we are also requesting a no driving, considering the nature of the charges, and that the vehicle's registration, I'm not for sure if it's been reinstated.
Right. No driving, Mr. McCord, unless you have a valid license and registration on the car. I'm assuming right now that you don't. You would have to go to DDS if you were to make bond and get that straightened out, those privileges by them. But right now, no driving unless you need medical attention or to see a lawyer without this license until you go to DDS once you're released to see if you can get a temporary license.
Was his license suspended this time? Was it at that time? I don't think, I think it was the vehicle he was driving that had the suspended registration.
Right.
So he shouldn't have a problem with his license and he should be able to go rent a truck and do his work.
Correct. It just says that was on the car. You're right. I'm sorry, Mr. McLean. That's what the charge is. That the motor vehicle did not have the correct registration.
That's it. Right.
Okay. So as long as your license is valid, you're okay.
Position number 11, Mr. Reddick, please. Come on.
All right, this is case number 22 CR 0000311F. Are you Antonio Darrell Reddick?
yes, ma'am.
All right, you're charged at 1 count of false report application for driver's license, 1 count of reckless driving, 1 count of fleeing or attempting to elude a police officer, and another count of obstruction of a law enforcement officer, all with the offense date of January the 25th, 2020. Do you have anything pre-trial?
Yes, I'm showing 26 cycles, 22 out of Wisconsin, 4 out of Georgia. Last arrest, July 3rd, 2019 for aggravated assault, 3 counts of cruelty. It appears to be an open case, 19 SC 169858. Has a 2018 conviction for fleeing or attempting to elude a police officer and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer out of Fayette County. Now I'm going to go into the Wisconsin conviction. A 2009 conviction for possession of cocaine with intent. It just says possession with intent. 2009 burglary out of Wisconsin. A 2007 operating while revoked conviction. 2007 criminal damage to property. That case went along with a resisting or obstructing an officer and a disorderly conduct. And then a 2005 conviction for disorderly conduct, carrying a concealed weapon, and bail jumping. Nothing further to add.
Okay. All right, Ms. Webb.
Yes, Your Honor. This, as Your Honor knows, this incident took place on January 25th, 2020. Fairburn Police Department was finishing up a traffic stop when they noticed the defendant's vehicle in his rear view. The officer noted the defendant's vehicle in his rear view was only operating with 1 headlight. The officer then proceeded to pull the defendant over to advise him that he was pulling him over for the headlight violation. And when the officer asked the defendant for his driver's license, the defendant gave him a Wisconsin license that has a license number of S36501386004-03. The license returned clean and clear, but the GCIC photo did not match the driver or the defendant, well, did not match the defendant. But the defendant was cited as the registered owner of the vehicle. And the defendant advised the officer that he was living in Texas now and not Wisconsin. The officer asked the defendant some demographical questions that was based on the driver's license, including weight and height. And those two answers did not match, Your Honor, which kind of heightened the officer's senses, and he calls for backup. And when the backup officer arrived, he approached the vehicle from the passenger side and ordered the defendant out of the vehicle. The defendant refused and hindered the officers even further from the investigation by placing the car in drive and accelerating forward in a reckless manner. He busted a U-turn in the middle of the street and then proceeded to accelerate down the road at a high rate of speed near the Duncan Park located in Fairborn, Georgia, Your Honor. Officer Dennis did attempt to get behind the vehicle, defendant's vehicle, to signal him to stop, and the officers continued to witness the defendant drive recklessly down the roadway, which includes passing up several cars, driving on the opposite side of the road, crossing over the double yellow lines, and driving at a high rate of speed. The officers did go to the register address at 8279 Millam, that is M-I-L-A-M Loop, to locate the defendant. When they turned the block, they did see the defendant walking down the street. And when the officers turned, I guess their emergency lights on, the defendant took off running between the houses, and the officers were not able to locate him nor the vehicle upon canvassing the area a second time and upon returning back to the defendant's registered address. Your Honor, for those reasons, the state is requesting, now there are some preset bonds, Your Honor. We are asking for some increases in some, so I'll be sure to notate which those are. For the false report or the fake license, that bond is set at $500 surety, no change. For the reckless driving, is set at $1,000 surety, but we are asking to increase to a $2,000 surety. For the fleeing and eluding, it is set at $1,000 surety with no change. For the obstruction, it is set at $1,000 surety, but we're asking to increase to a $2,000 surety. For the defective equipment, it's set at $500 and requesting no change, Your Honor. As preset, the total surety bond will be $4,000, but with the state increases, it will be $6,000. We're also requesting no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and no driving while out on bond, Your Honor. We're making this recommendation because the defendant does have those previous convictions out of Fayette County for obstruction and fleeing and looting from 2018. The facts in the report also indicate that a reasonable belief that the defendant does pose a threat to the community at large, because considering that this was simply going to be a headlight violation, it escalated to something that it did not have to be. And in doing so and trying to elude and flee the police, he could have injured himself, those officers, or anyone who was on the road, Your Honor. And we're happy that did not happen, considering that this did take place near a local community park.
All right, Mr. McLean.
There is a Fairburn police report as the incident in question on that time, on that date in the past, and it says that the person has a mole underneath their right eye. And I was looking at the mugshot of our defendant here. I don't see any mole. Says that person had a gap tooth. The mugshot of my defendant today does not. He's not smiling, so I can't tell if he's got a gap tooth or not. But he denies that he was the person there. He does have a cousin whose name is Andrew Maurice Strong. They're both from Wisconsin. He had loaned his car to his child's mother. The child's mother was aware that Andrew sometimes at that time period had visited, and he has no doubt that at that time that if Andrew had asked to borrow our defendant's car, Ms. Lewis, Collier Lewis, probably would have let him do it. He says at the time in question, he was out of state. He was in Wisconsin himself. So there were people in my office, Jennifer Lubinsky in our felony division, and Rachel Jinks in our misdemeanor division, were in conversation with somebody in the prosecutor's office about him turning himself in I think something like Sunday or Monday or Tuesday of this week, but he was arrested last night nonetheless. So that is now moot. But the turning himself in was based on their conversation about, we let the state know, I'm not sure if it was, I guess it was maybe the solicitor's office, I don't know, that he was stating, he was certainly claiming that he wasn't there, wasn't him, didn't do it, and he wouldn't drive like that. Now he, let's see if I have his information. Mr. Reddick, maybe on another sheet of paper, did I write down where you worked? You could state that to the court.
Put your mask on though.
I work at Union City Walmart. I'm a full-time barber.
Put your mask on.
I'm sorry.
They can use.
A little slower. I can't hear you quite.
I work at Union City Walmart. I'm a full-time barber. I'm also in school with Penn Foster. I done spent all my money with Penn Foster just trying to get my education. At the time I did have valid driver license. My car was insured, and I don't know what was the problem, but I can at least do a signature bond. I have no family down here, but I do have a job, and I do need to be at work to make money. I make money daily, and
Right, I just needed the workplace and I needed to write down the phone number for the workplace.
okay.
You can give that to the Debbie if you will.
Union City Walmart.
Okay, I have it noted.
If it's the Walmart I'm thinking of, I'm very familiar with it.
Clear Passion Barber Shop at Union City Walmart.
How long have you been there?
I've been there for 3 years, man. My boss name is Asia. Well, the person I work for is Asia.
And so, Mr. McLean, this defendant is contending that that was not him driving and eluding the police.
That's correct. Speculation, the closest speculation would be probability that that would be his cousin, and that's kind of a jerky thing to do.
Okay, I'm going to go with the $3,500 surety bond. And the first charge, false report application for driver's license, $500. On the second charge, reckless driving, $1,000. On the third charge, $1,000, and on the fourth charge, $500. That total 1,000. I think I'm right. I'm an Italian.
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
That's right.
And I think I said 3,500. So I'm sorry, I did that wrong. On the reckless driving, let me make that 500. So now that's
3,000.
yes, 2,500. I'm sorry, my math is terrible. 2,500, 500, 500, 1,000, and 500. So $2,500 surety bond.
No.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
All right, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
That's cash bond.
No, that's a surety bond.
What's a surety mean?
I can explain that to him further if the deputy would have him call me after court.
All right, and I don't know whether you have a valid driver's license or not. If you don't drive.
Position number 12 is next, Mr. Smith, please. You okay, Mr. Smith? Watch, okay, hold on, take your time for now.
All right, you're Mr. Ricky Smith.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, this is case number 22 CR 000-313C. Charge of 1 count of battery. The offense date January 21st, 2022. Pretrial.
Cycles. Last arrest was July 1st, 1995 for aggravated assault. That was the first offender, which was sealed. And then a driving while license suspended, conviction in 95. And nothing further. He's recommended.
Okay. All right, it's Webb.
Yes, Your Honor. As Your Honor knows, this incident took place on January 21st around 6:30 a.m. South Fulton Police Department officers responded to a domestic dispute call at 42 4257 Caveat Court, that's CAVEAT Court, South Fulton, Georgia, where they were met with the defendant's wife, Mrs. Monica Smith, who informed the officers that she and her husband had an argument that turned physical over a doctor's appointment. Mr. Smith informed the officer that the defendant became angry and got up from the bed, grabbed her by the shoulder and neck, and started to throw her around the room and towards the floor and threatened to throw her out of the window. The officers who responded did see visible markings on Ms. Smith, including bruising and red marks on her upper back and neck. Your Honor, the state is recommending a $2,500 surety, no further contact with Ms. Monica Smith, a stay away from the incident location at 4257 Caveat Court, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a one-day anger awareness. Your Honor, our office was able to make contact with Ms. Monica Smith. She did inform our victim advocate that this was the first time that he attacked her, but he does exhibit extreme signs of anger in the past, and that she is concerned that he needs resources, including anger management, as his anger has become uncontrollable. She does not wish for her husband to return to the home, and she has filed for a TPO against him. She did sustain those bruises and pains. And when our victim advocate talked to her, she was actually visiting her doctor to make sure there wasn't any underlying injuries. She did inform our advocate that she does fear for her life because the defendant does have several guns in the home and actually in the room where the incident took place. And she is requesting the court to honor a stay away order. We are concerned for the victim's safety in this situation, Your Honor. And with considering the ongoing issues at home, we do believe that there's a high risk of reoffending.
All right, I do see Ms. Smith on the call. Is she still on? Does she wish to address the court at all?
I'm on, but I don't need to address the court.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, we are meeting this case in the middle of definitely a very big factual dispute and apparently a breakup, apparently, of the relationship. I would ask the court to take that into account. He denies the allegations. He says he had gone through 3 procedures since November himself and would be unlikely to be able to do what he's accused of doing because he can barely walk. He does work at Ruan Transportation, which is based out of Decula, Georgia. That's in Gwinnett County. His supervisor is Ron Lassiter. It is a company which provides transportation out of and it's attached to and contractually associated with the Publix warehouse in Decula. But that's Ruan Transportation. He has been associated with them for 7 years. He asked the court to consider a signature bond. If the court is not inclined towards a signature bond, he would ask the court to consider a bond no larger than $1,500 surety bond because he has only $200.
All right, I'm going to order a $2,500 signature bond through pre-trial. And I'm going to order a stay away from 4257 Caveat Court. He can have a one-time police escort back to that location if he needs to retrieve any personal items. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. I'm going to order the one-day anger awareness course for pretrial. No further contact with the victim, Monica Smith. Mr. Smith, you're not to return to the home or that location unless you have law enforcement to escort you. And that will be a one-time escort. So if you return there or go anywhere around Miss Smith, you will be arrested again. So govern yourself accordingly, okay?
Yes, ma'am. But can I say one thing though, ma'am?
I would prefer that none of my clients say anything, frankly.
Yeah. Talk to your attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. That should conclude this matter. I do I do see one other person on with the name of J-A-Y. Are you victims in a case or which case, ma'am?
We were Jay and Mary Cohen, and the victim was Mr. Hernandez. And
Fernandez, yeah, it was position number 5. He actually had a medical reset. So our victim witness advocate will get back to you with another date. He likely is just going to reset for another date down the road.
Okay, so we'll know.
Well, usually, and Natalia, correct me, we reset it for tomorrow and we keep resetting it each day.
Judge, will be reset for Monday.
Monday, all right. So it is, your case is going to be reset till Monday, which is January the 24th, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so.
At what time, Judge?
It'll be at 2:00 p.m. on January the 24th. Did you receive an email with the link today?
I did.
Okay, so you should receive another email with the same, with the link for the 24th.
Okay.
Okay, but someone will be in contact with her. Is that correct, Ms. Patton?
Yes, that is correct. Thank you, Your Honor. And thank you again, Ms. Cohen. We appreciate you coming by and letting the court know anything you have to say. So I guess they'll see you again on Monday.
Okay. All right.
Thank
you.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Is there anyone else on this call? I don't think I see any other victims or any persons that were waiting to possibly address any other cases. Are we clear, Natalia? Is that it? Was that the last?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and reconcile. All right.
Position number 1 is the $2,000 good bond. Reset SAP February 3rd, 2022. Position number 2 is a $2,500 good bond. Reset SAP February 3rd. Position number 3 is a $5,000 good bond. Reset SAP February 3rd. Position number 4 was released on bond. Reset further notice. Position number 5 was reset medical. It'd be reset for Monday, January 24th. Position number 6 is a $4,000 good bond. Reset SAP February 3rd. Position number 7 is reset for Monday's expedited calendar, January 24th. Position number 8 is a $500 sign-on bond through pretrial per judge. Reset further notice. Position number 9 is a $5,000 sign-on bond through pretrial. Reset further notice. Position number 10 is a $1,500 good bond. Reset SAP February 3rd. Position number 11 is a $2,500 good bond. Reset SAP February 3rd. Position number 12 is a $2,500 sign-on bond through pretrial. Reset further notice. Position number 13 is a $3,000 good bond. Reset SAP January 27th. The add-on calendar is a $3,000 good bond. Reset SAP February 3rd.
Okay, any questions, anyone?
None for me.
On position 12, that was a $1,500 sign-up bond, correct?
On position?
I have $1,500 good bond.
On 12?
Oh, no, hold on, 12?
No, I have 2,500 SOB.
Did you say 12 or 10?
Oh.
12 is a $2,500 sign-on bond through pretrial.
Thank you.
Right. All right. All minds are clear. I will see you all the next time. Have a good rest of your Saturday.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Catilia, do you have my email?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.